I'm going to struggle even titling this as to how people invest. That is what I've called it, how people invest, on my blog subramani.com. So you can go and look for how people invest. This is also about how I invest, right? So I'm going to talk to you about investing styles of different people, and largely about how I do my own investing also. So the first question to ask is, how do people invest, and what is investment a function of? So obviously the narrative that happens at home is very important. So if you have been brought up in a house which says, oh, equity trading is not for us, it is only for the Gujaratis and Marwadis, only they can do it. We are Maharashtrian, we are Tamilian, we are Bengali, we are anything else in the world, but we are not Gujaratis or Marwadis, so we should not invest. Or stories like, oh no, you know how your father lost a lot of money during Harshad Mehta times or Ketan Parekh times, or you name it, and therefore you should stay away from equities. Chances are you will stay away from equities till you realize somewhere in your 30s or 40s that there is something called SIP and you can start investing. Well, not much. You lost about 10-15 years of compounding, and that's huge, right? So the question is, you have to be you will be carried away by what your family narrative is. If your family narrative is, we are very superior people, we should not be talking about money all the time, we should be keeping our money in bank fixed deposit and earn a lot of money by ourselves, so we should not be doing this, that's fine, be my guest, you can do that, there's nothing wrong. Then the second category who says, I do not know how to invest and I will not learn, and I don't think I need to learn, so all my money will be in bank fixed deposit. Fantastic. There is a third category which says, I do not know how to invest, my parents never invested, but I am willing to learn, and I'll start by investing 1000 rupees a month in an index fund or in a fund managed by one of the good fund managers or something like that. And he starts investing, or she starts investing, or starts buying equity shares, whatever. So that is the third category of those who will learn slowly. Obviously they will make mistakes. Then there is a fourth category which does not understand investing in totality. So they will do things like, hold your breath, they will not pay their credit card in full, but they will be doing an SIP. Why are you not paying your credit card in full? Sir, that is the way to keep up the pressure. If I pay the credit card in full, then I will not have any incentive to earn money, be my guest, and therefore I keep partial payment in my credit card, but I also do an SIP. Look, no equity fund is ever going to be able to manage the 42% interest that you're paying on your credit card. So for heaven's sake, learn the basics of investing at least. Borrowing and investing is not investing, that is speculating. Do you want to do it? Do you have the ability to do it? These are the questions to ask. Another funny part is, some journalists will say, how should people invest and write accordingly, and they would be dramatically wrong simply because they have neither invested nor spoken to investors, right? But they will have a theory on everything, how to build your portfolio, what to do, etc. Everything written from the armchair experience, but yes, they do. But many IFAs, for example, will not understand the need to do a review. And many clients do not think that they need to do a review. That's also fine. There is nothing wrong in doing a review or not doing a review, but at least you should know how you should do a review. That is even worse, is not even knowing how to do a review. That is I think the pitch. So suppose you have stayed invested in a fund run by Naren or Prashant Jain or Mahesh Patel or anybody, and over a 14-year period you've got 15% return, and some journalist or some other brilliant analyst or Twitter handle comes and tells you, in this period if you had invested in the index you would have got 15.1. You got only 15 with that fund manager. So are you happy or are you sad? Remember, the guy who did the calculation and told you has neither invested in the index nor in the fund manager, right? But he comes and tells you that you are wrong because you missed the index by 0.1. But it's far more important that you met all your goals. That person you have no clue what that person is doing. And what that person is doing is not important as long as you can go and meet all your goals. That is far more important, that you meet your goals. So you invest, you meet your goals, you create your own style, which could be, you could be a speculator in some portion, you could be a deep value investor in some other portions. It doesn't really matter. There are some funds which will do well, there are some funds which will do badly and then come back very strongly. So you have a choice of which funds to invest, what to do, how long you stay, and this is all not very easy. Please remember, we invest in a dynamic environment. Analysts sit and write in retrospect what has happened. For example, I am an investor in Franklin India Blue Chip, I am an investor in iPro Discovery, I am an investor in HDFC Prudence, as it used to be called. I have had investments. I have sold, I have bought, I have kept doing all those things, and I have no great regrets. I have more than met all my goals, and I have 90% of my money is in direct equity. So even though I have money in mutual funds, they're more. I cherry pick, and today I have money in all international funds, including international debt funds, which is I treat it as a proxy for a dollar protection. I also have investment in gold, which I think is a counter to overprinting of the US currency and the Indian currency. But luckily for me, I bought gold much before the COVID crisis, and the COVID crisis gave a bump up on the return. No, I did not buy it for the return, but I just wanted some gold in my portfolio, and therefore I had bought significant portion, no, small portion, but it has got the bump up of COVID. I have also benefited by that, right? So here is what my portfolio is. My portfolio lies in banks, much more money than what I would require for the next 5 years. Liquid funds, ultra short, gilt, PPF, and I'm sure it is mathematically and clinically inefficient. If somebody else were to run it, they would run it much better. But I refuse to kill myself over the return that I'm getting, because all I need is to meet my expenses and make sure that my real return that I'm getting on my portfolio is greater than inflation. That's about all, right? So I'm not really worried too much about I'm saying real return has to be more than positive. That's all. It does not have to be greater than inflation, right? So return does not really matter, because I have current income, I have dividend income with which I can meet my expenses. So doesn't matter. I have never worried about the cash flow from my investments. I know I can always sell whenever I want. Is my portfolio personally a model portfolio? Answer is no, it is not. I know it carries the slack of cash. I know it carries the slack of not reviewing some mutual fund schemes which are not doing well, some fund managers who are slacking. Yes, it has all that, but I can afford that slack in my portfolio. I refuse to kill myself. I have more interesting things to do. One day, yes, I will look at my portfolio and say, okay, these funds are not doing well, I'll sell that and buy something else. Yes, all those things will happen. Do I do it clinically, very efficiently, on a quarter-to-quarter basis, on a month-to-month basis? Answer is no. But do I track the results of the companies in which I have invested? Answer is yes. And I take a decision saying, okay, these results are not good, but I'm not in this for a short run, so I will stay invested in this fund. So these kind of things do happen. These kind of things happen even in direct equity, right? So somebody comes and tells me, I think Subra, this share is a good buy at 15 rupees. I do nothing. I watch it and I watch it and I watch it, and suddenly one day I find it at 12. So I buy an X amount of shares, and then next few days I find it at 18. I get rid of a lot of it, and then I see it falling down to 15. I cover it. I do all these kind of things. But originally when I bought, I was buying it for deep value investing, saying at 12 bucks this is a good share. I will be able to sell it at 100 bucks later on. But the journey from 12 to 100 can have many trading opportunities in the way. So as an investor, you really have a choice of what all to do and what not to do. I have a choice of buying MRF or LMW and holding on for next 10-15 years. That choice is unfortunately not available to the fund manager, who will be questioned on a day-to-day basis, right? So as an individual, what all you can do is not something all that a fund manager can do. You need to understand all these things. Thank you.